Join world-renowned psychic Tracey Lee as she chats candidly about life with the gift of being able to reach out and communicate with those who have crossed over to the other side. Hey Tracy, how you going?
Good, thanks.
That's good. So this is it, like we're finally here doing a podcast on being you.
Yeah.
So we might get maybe one full episode in, which should be good. But yeah, no, just joking. So we're going to do a bit about getting to know you. So I think the way the podcast come about is we become friends. We're not even going to go into how we become friends because I don't like that story. She's not very nice.
I actually am really nice.
But not when it comes to me.
No.
So
anyway,
we've been friends for about 6 years, and it got to a point where Tracy and I would be out socialising. We'd be out having a drink, and I'd go to Tracy, are there dead people here? And she'd just look at me with this Tracy face. And then we started talking, and one thing led to another, and Tracy goes, we should do a podcast. So that's what we're doing, a podcast.
We are doing it.
We are. So
the psychic and the psycho.
Yeah, and
I'm the psychic.
You're
the psycho.
I'm not gonna even have that discussion. So we want to get to know you. Tell us a bit about you. How did you become a psychic? What happened?
So I've always been intuitive, even as a kid I'd say to Mum, so-and-so's coming to the door, or the phone would ring and I'd know who it was, and I just thought that was normal. I thought that's what everyone did. And as I got older, I was very much an empath. So I was actually shy and introverted. And if you said to me, your top's blue, and I knew it was green, I'd just go, okay, like, you can't believe that. She's laughing at me. But that's the way I was, because I used to feed off everyone's emotions and I didn't know how to deal with it. So as I got older, I got more into this world, and I'd go and have readings, and I always knew things, but I could never understand how or why I knew them. Then I died on the operating table giving birth to my son. And after that, I was very sick. I was in hospital for 7 months. I had staph, I had collapsed kidneys, I had, the list goes on and on. And after that, it just opened up to the point where I had some really freaky things happen. And one of them was, and I don't know how this happened, so my son had a very hard beginning into this world, and he was about 2, and I lived in a house that had double doors and all this sort of stuff, and I was reversing the car out, and I always use this mirror because we had triple garage. He was in the shower playing, and I said to the girls, watch your brother, I'm just going to move the car out because we were going out. And as I was reversing out, I don't know how he got through 2 double doors, but he did. I'm reversing out, and I'm looking in this rear vision mirror because of, it was tight, and I got punched in the shoulder, like full on bang. And I went, oh, and I turned around and he was behind my car.
Oh.
I'd have killed him. And I just stopped, and he's stark naked. And I'm like, how did that happen? What happened? Because it was just a massive punch in my shoulder. Like I can't explain what it was. It was just a punch. So I turned around. Of course, I didn't run him over. And then after that, other things started to happen. And it got to the point where, I'd be down the street and I'd go, oh, I can't go this way. Or, my ex-husband would say to me, we're going out. He'd say, you drive. I'm not driving. I knew not to drive. And he'd go, no, you're driving. I'm not driving. We'd stand on the driveway arguing. So he'd drive because I knew. And this particular time I was coming down Camden Valley Way, and it was the old Camden Valley Way. So there was not all the...
2 lanes, 1 lane each way.
One lane, and a lot of trees and bushy. And we're coming down, heading towards Liverpool, where the old El Cabello Blanco is, and a car just came straight out of the side street, straight out. Now, if I'd have been driving, I'd have hit him because I didn't have the skill Glenn had. And Glenn actually went up the wrong side of the road, and we weaved in and out of traffic.
Oh, my God.
Back onto the right side of the road. And I'm holding on for dear life. We didn't have the kids. The kids were, I don't know where they were. They were being babysat anyway. And he said to me, that's the reason you didn't want to drive. And it was absolutely, I knew, but I didn't know why. So it was sort of like this knowing, but not knowing what the knowing was about. you know.
So going back to when you were younger, because we had put a post out for Facebook questions, and I was looking through them before, and some of them were talking about when you were younger, so I can cover some of them now. You said you knew. Did you hear things, see things, or was it just a feeling before the operating table stuff?
So a lot of it was it was a bit of all of that. Some of it was just an absolute knowing. Some of it was like I would hear it, and then, you know, I'd be sitting there playing, and one example was, I can remember it, you know, you have those Kodak moments in life where you just flip back. And I remember I was playing in the lounge room at a house that we had at Fairfield West, and I must have been 7. And I said to my mum, I looked up at her and I said, "Oh, Jeff's coming." She goes, "What?" I said, "Oh, Jeff's going to be here soon." And she said, "No, Jeffrey's in England. The only Jeff we know is in England. He's not coming." And I said, "Oh, no, he's going to be here." And his mother had passed. She died of cancer, my auntie. Anyway, within 2 hours, there was a knock on the door. Mum opened the door, and it was my cousin doing a surprise visit from England. His name was Jeff. So my mum's just looked at me like, but you didn't talk about it, you know? You never talked about those things.
Was it like you had an imaginary friend and you heard voices and no one wanted to talk? Were you like, did no one talk to you at school? Like, were you the widow at school?
Pretty much.
Still
pretty
a widow now.
No,
so
you know, like, because I was an empath, and now I understand. I was badly bullied at school, but it was if someone said anything to me, I'd be like, whatever.
Oh my God, I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side.
Yeah, but that's been a lifelong
true.
of struggles that I was badly bullied in high school, to the point, we're talking before social media, so it was a horrendous.
Because of this, or just lots of
things.
Do you think this contributed to it?
I think because I was so sensitive and I was an old soul, I didn't deal well with any of that. You know, girls are bitches, let's just face it.
Because I know some of you, like when you do your shows, quite often you'll say, I didn't ask for this.
I did not ask for this.
And so, but is it something that if you had your time again, would you say, I don't want it, or would you do it differently, or does it not matter now?
No, absolutely the same.
You wouldn't change anything?
No. I might change a few things, but not my gift. Absolutely not. And I don't go to people. People will say, "Oh, what do you do?" What do I say?
Oh my God, I'm in wellness.
I say wellness business.
I'm in a wellness business. And they look at her like waiting for her to elaborate. She doesn't even then promote the wellness business. She just stands there and smiles at them. So I go, she hears voices in her head, and then they look at us. But it's a good icebreaker. Look, people are going to believe or they're not. And it's like talking about religion and politics. I think if they're not interested they're a good person, they'll just change the subject.
It's funny, right? Because you do those breakfasts as a network groups, and I was at a network group, and there was a man there who was I knew years and years ago, like when I was a kid, and he's in this network group, and he goes to me, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, look, this is not really my target audience here. I'm not," because it was predominantly middle-aged men. I'm not really sure that anyone here would be interested. And he goes, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "I'm a hooker." He goes, No, I'm sure they'd be interested. Because men are the first to...
So you think people are more intrigued by you being a hooker than a psychic?
100%.
Really? What makes more money, don't you reckon?
Probably the hooker.
Well, see, I could do that because I don't hear voices in my head.
No, I can't do it.
No,
can't do it.
No,
but it was just... it was just that when I seen him, I just thought, how am I going to explain to him? Because I knew him when I was, 17, 18.
But how was that easier to say that to someone than I'm a psychic?
Yeah, because...
Is that how bad? Is that how it made you feel? Was it like because you felt that it wasn't accepted, or like...
No, yeah, it's not accepted, but people will accept a hooker. It's the oldest profession in the world. I say it as a joke, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone who is in that industry, because people are in that industry for whatever reasons. But it was just my way of, if I make humour out of something, then people are more accepting of the humour than actually the answer.
But then did you give him the real answer?
Then I told him.
And what was his reaction? Did he not want to talk to you after that?
What? What? And I'm like, I started laughing because the reaction he gave was exactly the reaction I expected. But funnily enough, I won Sole Trader of the Year a couple of years back, and I got approached by a lady who said, "Oh, will you come and speak to our group?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, okay, again, whatever." I said, "How many?" She said, "Oh, no more than 15. I went, "Okay." But the week before I did the presentation, and it had to be a presentation and it had to be about a business, because it is a business, and I have a business model, and I have plans, and I have all the things. I'm not perfect, but I do have some things. Anyway, the week before she rang me and she said, "I've been informed that it's now a combined group. So instead of being 20, there was 120. And I thought, oh, again, predominantly middle-aged men. And I said, all right. I said, well, that's fine. I'm just talking purely about the business and how I won the award. And then she said, and I've also been told you're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to talk about your spirituality. I'm thinking, so then straight away they're putting the shackles on me.
But that's your business.
That's right. They're putting the shackles on me. And I said, okay, I will just talk about my business model. So I went, and in the room was a couple of men on my peripheral that I could see, and I knew one of them was had a really strong faith. And I thought, if I'm going to get any grief, it's going to be from this direction. And I could see them talking and their arms were crossed. So I delivered how I came into this world. I delivered my business model, at that point, and still to this day, I want to take over the world. I want to get as many messages out there as I can. And just, Anyway, I did the talk, and then I had any questions. So then people putting up their hands saying, can you tell me, is my Aunt Mary okay? Or, oh, what's going to happen with this? And I said, look, I would have gladly done that. I said, but I've been given strict instructions that I'm not to give any of that. I'm not to do any readings of any type. I said, so if you would like, you can book in for a reading. So anyway, they did. Anyway, at the end, this man came over to me, and I thought I had a line of people wanting to talk to me. I'm not sure why. Maybe because my business model was just so perfect. I don't know. Anyway, he comes over and he says to me, I've got a very strong faith. I said, yep, I know, because I'd heard him speak up elsewhere. And he said, but I have to say, you have spoken with such authenticity. And he said, there's no airy-fairy. He said, I actually believe what you do, and I actually believe you're doing it from a good place. He said, and I never thought I would say that about a psychic. And that was probably one of the nicest compliments I've ever had, in respect to, not that often people will say, oh, your reading was good, or, oh, I didn't agree with this, or whatever. But this was one about me as a person. And he said, you can tell you talk from the heart, the authenticity. I understand that you are, because, people say, oh, you're talking to the devil. I might be the devil.
Well, that's it. So that kind of brings me into the next phase. We talk a lot about lotto numbers and, all that sort of stuff. So when he's saying you're authentic, and I can see, like, I remember my very first reading I went to this local person, and because they were highly recommended, and I was all of like 18 or something, and I vowed before, I'm not saying nothing, because she's got to tell me everything, right? Worst mistake you can make when you're having a reading, right?
Yeah.
And you learn the hard way, because you get nothing from it. Like, if they're saying stuff and you're just sitting there looking at them because you think it's a trap. So there is that fine line between, you've got scammers, you've got people that are all love and light, and all, like, I've had some shocking readings. Shocking, where they haven't hit the money, but I've just sat there and gone, I've played along in the end. I've gone, yeah, okay, you're on the money. I walk out, I go,
what the?
No way.
What the?
So let's talk about Mythbusters. Why can't you tell me my lotto numbers?
Because I think that's destiny. And for me, this is not to change destiny.
Do you think it's possible, though, that other people could be? Do you think that's even a possibility, having the ability to talk to someone on the other side to predict that kind of thing? Is there such a thing as predicting the future by talking to the?
No, you can say, oh, there's money coming in. Like I said to a woman out at Wagga, oh, there's money around you. There's a lot of money coming in. Where is it coming from? I don't know. And she goes, well, and she jokingly said, well, I better buy a lotto ticket, but I don't play lotto. And I said, well, buy a lotto ticket. And she won 500,000. Oh. But I didn't give her the numbers, because if I knew the numbers, I wouldn't be sitting here doing a podcast with you. Let's just face it. Like, if it's my destiny,
I don't blame you.
If it's my destiny 100%. To win money, I think you know, your chances, it is about destiny. And I don't believe in changing destiny. So I never say to anyone, you should leave or you should stay. I never do that. And I'll give you an example why. And I had a lady turn up at my door and she wanted a reading, like, you know, comes in. And I could tell she was really, really, I'm not going to say agitated, but she was tense. I don't normally remember my readings, but this one was stuck with me. And she'd been to another psychic. I don't know where. I didn't ask. I don't want to know. Anyway, she sat down and she said, I just want to tell you I've had a problem with reading. I said, no, let's do the reading and then you can talk to me about the issue after it, because I don't want it to interrupt my reading. I don't want it to be, you know, have any impact on my reading to you. So I did the reading and I said to her, oh, you've got a husband. I said, oh, there's something going on around his chest area. There's some issues there. I said, he's had some struggles, but he's going to be okay. And then I said to her, oh, there's two men in your life. Are you having an affair? And she looked at me, she said, yes. And I said, oh, this affair's come from wherever and blah, 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 blah. And we talked about the affair, and then she talked to me about, you know, how her life was travelling. At the end of it, I said to her, so what's happened? And she said, well, I went to a psychic and her husband was on a heart-lung transplant list. And she said, I asked the psychic, is my husband going to get the heart-lung transplant? The psychic said no, which meant that man was going to die. Mm. And so she grieved him before he even died. She grieved her husband before he'd even passed. 7 months in, she goes to a school reunion. One night she leaves him. She meets up with her first boyfriend. So what happens? She starts this affair with her husband.
She's been told. Yeah.
Because she believes her husband is passing. And he got the heart-lung transplant. So he lived. So now she's got these two men that she loves for very different reasons. And I'm not saying she loved one more than the other, just very different reasons. And then she had to make a choice. I would never have said to her, he's going to die, because I'm not God, or I'm not whoever it is. How do you know there's not some miracle cure around the corner? You know what I mean? Like, that's changing destiny.
But do you ever get definitive conversations from the other side where they will say they're going to die? Like,
yeah, 100%.
So would you tell the person that if it was definitive?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not my job.
No, I respect that. I just find it interesting.
I've had a few people come with cancer and my usual response is, not all the time, but I'll often say, oh, you're on a journey. You know, because we're all on a journey, but it's not how am I to take hope from anyone if that's all they've got left is hope? Why should I take that away from it? They already know they're sick, they've got cancer, they already know the prognosis, because the doctors who are better trained and educated than me will give them that. I don't need to be that burden to them. All I'm giving them is hope.
What happens if someone come to you and said, I want to know, I need you to be 100% honest? Do you think it's still like...
Not my job.
Not your job?
No.
Even though you've been given an answer and...
We're all dying.
Yeah.
We're all going to die.
You say that.
It's only a matter of some of us are closer to the gate than others. You know, like, you know, who's to... Yeah, no, I won't do it, because I've said to people, oh, you'll have an answer by October, and then their loved ones passed in October. I do that sort of stuff. But I don't actually say, no, they're dying, it's going to be October. I'm not doing that. It's not my job. I'm not
a doctor, I don't diagnose.
I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose. That's what I say. Because they're professionals at that. You know, often you'll get, you know, like we're going on tangents here, but I'll often get someone who might be a bit mischievous on this side. And they would have been mischievous here. So they might say, yeah, they're going to die, but they're not. Do you know what I mean? So if they're not honest here, it doesn't mean they're going to go over there and become pure and honest. There's still them over there. Do you know what I mean? Their spirit of them is still their spirit of them. So I will never, ever do that. The only one, I say that, I had, as you know, a lady that had an end of assisted.
This was just very recent.
Just recent. Yeah, she had an assisted end of life last week. She knew she was dying on Sunday and she wanted a reading. And I felt really... torn about doing it, because I thought, what am I actually going to give her? She's got 2 days to live. What do I do?
She'd already made the choice to go through that, hadn't she?
She had, because her illness was terminal and it was horrendous. But I brought through people that she wanted to hear from, to tell them that they were there with her. And she said to me, and I actually put a post up on my page about her passing, and she answered everyone's post. Well, she liked or gave love to everyone's post. And because I wanted everyone to give some prayers and some healing, because I wanted her to have the most peaceful passing that she could have. And I don't know this lady. As you know, she's a friend of a friend. So I did it for the friend. And I brought things up that even her friend didn't know. So it was real validation for her. Yeah. And she said, she thanked me at the end of the reading, and she said, I'm going on Sunday, and this is Friday afternoon. And she said, I'm at peace with my passing. She said, your reading has made my passing so much more peaceful, gentle. She said, I know there's love there. I mean, obviously she's very sad because she's left family behind and all the rest of it, but she was in full acceptance of her passing. That's what I'm here for. Do you know what I mean? Like to give that validation and that comfort or you know, those sort of things.
Well, that's fair enough. I think that's why we're doing this, because these are the things that people want to know. So I think just before we maybe wrap this one up, let's talk quickly about like famous people coming through. That's another myth buster. Like, why can we bring Elvis in the room today, or like? Well,
Elvis is still alive.
Oh my God! What about Tina Turner? Tina Turner just left us.
No.
Why?
Why would she want to talk to you?
Well, why not?
Yeah, but who are you?
Doesn't matter.
Who am I?
It doesn't matter.
People come through for their loved ones. They don't come through to some random. Like I had one lady say to me, "Do you speak to Princess Di?" And I go, "Nah." And she goes, "Well, why not?" I said, "Well, why would she want to talk to me?" What?
One of the questions on Facebook was about famous people. They said, I can't remember who it was. I didn't write it down. Can you speak to the Queen and Lady Diana or someone? And if so, do they like Meghan?
No and no.
I'm like...
And no.
I'm like, okay, that's pretty random, but yeah.
No, you know what? It's a fair enough question, but you have to understand, this is not like talking to you. It's like talking through fog, like the thickest fog.
Which we'll don't go too much into that, because we want to talk about that a little bit later, but yeah.
But the energy you have to use to get their energy is amazing. Like, you've seen me work, and I can be in the coldest room and I'll still be sweating like a pig because it's work. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's work. Yeah. Why would they want to waste that energy talking to me?
Well, I don't. Well, see, but my thing is, I think to myself, like, yeah, like when you're saying the energy. So yeah, like for them to, it's like looking for someone in a crowd, right?
Yeah, it's like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, like you'd be. So I get it, but people still ask the question, right?
Look, and I just think
what happens if they were like a stalker, avid fan, like they claim to be. No, not of you, of the dead person, right? Oh my God, rate yourself much? Seriously, like say Elvis is I'm Elvis's biggest fan. You know, they've stalked him forever, and they feel they really have a connection, and they might have met him a few times. Do you think that would be possible then, or no?
No.
Okay.
This is no.
Because when Mark Wahlberg goes, if he goes before me, I want to know if I'll be able to.
No.
Okay. All right, doesn't matter.
Maria thinks she's marrying Mark Wahlberg.
No, I'm not. I don't cut other people's grass. He's a happily married man, but I can look.
So no, because for me, this is about love. So does Mark Wahlberg love you?
Of course he does. I'm a fan. No, I understand what you're saying.
It's about that connection they have here in this world.
So would it be not safe to say, but if I was to say a statement along the lines of, if I went to a reading and I said, I want to connect with a famous person, and that person brought that famous person through, they're full of shit. Like, am I to say they're a bodgy?
Yeah, but how do you know, like, for me, when you do this work, you've got to have validation. How are they going to validate what they're telling you? Yes, Princess Di's here and she thinks you're a lovely person. Yeah. How are we going to validate that?
Well, because she's Princess Di. Like, they wouldn't see. I would think if they were clever at what they were doing, they wouldn't focus on me at all. They'd focus on Princess Di, because everyone knows about Princess Di. And I'd be like in awe, going, "Oh, that's right. Yeah, she did die in a car crash. Oh my God, you're so like." But people get scammed like that. Like 100%. I can see how they would. So that's when it's good you're like a sledgehammer because you're like, no, I just don't do it.
No, and, seriously, why would Elvis want to talk to me? He'd be like, who's this friggin' lunatic?
True.
Why would
Princess
Di want to talk to me?
100%.
Unless I had Prince William, Kate, George, whoever, sitting opposite me that wanted a reading. That's different because they are her loves.
All right, you just gave me a really good question to finish on, I think. Who would be, if you could pick anyone in the world to do a reading for, who would you pick? I love this question. No, don't. That's a stupid answer.
I don't care.
No. I need a person.
As in
anyone in the world.
I don't care how I read.
Okay, famous. The most famous person. Who would, if you're looking at fortune and fame, who would you love to do a reading for? Thinking about all the people that have died on the other side that could talk. So, like the royal family would probably be a good start. But I'm not trying to sway you.
No one. There is no one.
Really?
No.
You're so boring. Why would you say that?
No, I'm not, because it's not about me, right, per se. Sometimes I do phone readings. I don't even know who they are. They could be famous people. I have done famous people.
Who's the most famous?
I'm not saying.
Can you give us like a clue?
No.
No names? Come on. Movie star? Singer?
No.
Oh, come on. Just what industry?
Television.
Okay, good. All right. That's a start.
The thing is, right, that's their business, what they want to do, whether they want to come and see a psychic or whether they go and see one or 100. And I don't rate saying, you see psychics out there, celebrity psychic. Oh, please, celebrity psychic what? You've read one person
I'm
one
not,
time.
But I would not, I'm not asking it from that perspective.
But
you're not ever, like, I would,
no.
Who would I want? I would love, like, to do maybe the royal family, because so many old people, but it's not even just that, it's the history of the family that goes with, like, what about if you could do someone that was related to, like, in the Russian times when the Tsar was there, like when Hitler
see my face?
Oh, you're boring.
No, because I don't believe this is what this is for. I believe
No,
it. You know what I mean?
Like, but it's still exciting. If I had your gift, I'd want to just maybe a little bit have fun with it.
I have fun with it. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy giving the messages. I don't care who sits on the other side of the table.
I know you don't, but I'm just asking the question because I bet you people would want to know if one celebrity was able to pick you, who would you like to read?
If I like, you know what though? No, I don't have any.
Okay.
I'm trying to make something up, and I can't because
no, that's all right.
I don't care whether you're Joe
Blow or
the
Mark
Queen.
Wahlberg and he saw this podcast and I would expect to be invited.
The whole thing is Mark Wahlberg's a strict Catholic, so he's not going to come to me. No, that's
true.
So, like you've got people that have strong faiths that won't come to me, which is fine. But I don't have an inkling. The thing is, right, people think, when I do this, you've Googled me, all that sort of stuff.
That's what I used to.
Yeah, I know.
Well, not Google, because I didn't really do that back then. But
and I've been to where I've done parties back in the day when I first started out. I do parties, and by the end of a party, like you've worked all week, and then you go out on a Friday night, you get to midnight, and I'm rat shit, like I'm just drained. And I had this woman, I'll never forget it, and you know me, I'm not airy fairy. Like your top's red, that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't believe in all that
love and light, and not love and light, but you're not over the top. You're very straight to the point.
Yeah, it is what it is. I've got this person. This is what it is. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Anyway, back then I used to do a lot of psychometry, whereas you hold jewelry and you get messages, you get feelings from the jewelry. So I was holding this woman's whatever it was, and I gave her a reading. And in between the readings, I had 2 minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, because I had say 8 or 10, which was a lot. And when I came out in front of everybody, so she was making a scene, and I'm exhausted. I've just walked out. I knew one person's name, which was a person who wanted the reading. I didn't know anyone's name. I just said, it was to the point, next, hi, I'm Tracy, how you going, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I walked out there and in front of everyone, and she was it's not what she said, it was the way she said it. It was that tone of, So she goes, I suppose you Googled me. And I go, what?
Because she rated herself? Like, so it wasn't someone famous?
No.
Oh my God. Okay.
And she goes, I suppose you've Googled me. And I've gone, what? Because you know me. What? And she goes, you've Googled me. I said, mate, I don't know your friggin' name. How can I Google you? And I didn't honestly know her name. And Liz, who had organised it, said, oh my God, don't be so rude. She said, all she know, and I said, all I know is Liz's name. She goes, don't be so ridiculous. She doesn't know your name, which I didn't. It was number 1 to 8 or 1 to 10. And they'd given themselves number.
But how much would you rate yourself to say?
Have you Googled
What are
me?
you going to find if you Google them?
I should have asked that.
You
But at
should.
that time, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and then I've got another hour drive home. So I just sometimes people forget to feed you or give you a drink of water or any of that stuff. So I'm flat. Flat.
So I can attest Tracy would actually lose her own head if it wasn't screwed onto the body. So the fact, she's got a good memory, and that is, I can confirm
I
that.
remember this side more than this side. So people will come, and I'll often say, and I don't get my list for the day until the day of. Very rarely do I get it in advance, because I might get 2 days, but I'll look at it in the morning and I write down who I've got, and it's like 10:30, blah, 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 blah. And it'll be a first name, Maria. By the end of the day, I've done
it's all meshed into one. Yeah.
So I don't remember the person, and I have people come and they go, oh yeah, you read me 4 years ago. I'm like, friggin' hell, I can't remember yesterday. But I start, and when I get in, I remember this side. I remember the other side more than this side. So I might have read them before, and I might have seen things, and I might repeat what I've seen because I'm seeing it again, and I'll go, oh, I remember you. The other side, not the person sitting in front of me. Because when I read, I don't even look at people. I look out the window.
You look. It's a bit off-putting sometimes. But anyway,
it's because
I know, because you're in the day. But I
don't look at people, and people think I'm not being rude.
For people that don't know you, I know what they would think that, but no, I get it.
I don't make that eye contact. I do when they walk in. Hello, how are you? How's your day? And I always say, oh, I'm in paradise, blah, 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 blah. And then I sit here, like in this room, and I look out the window. And sometimes they look out the window to see what I'm looking at, because it's just I have to say, oh, look, I'm sorry, it's not you. It's just I'm off. But there might be a bird or something on there, and then that distracts me.
Something shiny.
I feed the lorikeets, so the lorikeets will be there. So I'll be watching that, but that's my way of grabbing the people to see what I'm doing. And I'm not saying my way is the right way, the wrong way. It's Tracy's way. I don't believe.
Well, that's what I think. It's like everyone would have to be different. You would have to have a different way of how you channel it.
So I feel that these people that go and do these, like psychic courses or whatever, and you have famous psychics that will come into Australia and they'll rape and pillage, and they will say you have to read my way. Well, what's your way?
It's like telling someone how to bring their child up. Like
everyone's different. There's some people will come to me. Some people, it's like hairdressers. Some people will go to Maria. Some will go to Tracy. Some will go to Jess. Some will go to all of them. Some might go to Maria twice. It's all about just being different. And I think we should embrace our differences as opposed to saying that's not the right way to read.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but no. I get that. Well, I think we've still got a lot to cover, but I want to talk about, we've talked a little bit about, what it sounds like and feels like, but I think there's a lot more questions I want to do about that. So I think we might wrap that up for now.
Thank you.
No worries.
Peace out.